Hello, my friends. Welcome to Living the Liminal this week. I'm so glad you're here. I just have like the most amazing guest with me. I know I say that every time. You're probably like, Christy, stop saying that all the time. But the reality is that each time a guest comes on, I get so tickled and excited and literally filled with joy to have these conversations with like-minded folks. And that's really what Living the Liminal is when you get into this space that you are authentically living and belonging to in your life, this energetic frequency, people come to you and you meet up with people and you find people and you think alike and you talk alike and you can share alike. And I just feel like my guest today has so much to offer, so much wisdom and so much to offer you, our listeners, and anyone out there. So again, I highly encourage you to take something from today, make it part of your life, integrate it in, and also like share it with other people. Be the teacher, share it with other people, and share this podcast episode. If you feel like someone really needs to hear it, by all means, share away, my friends, share away big time. So I want to introduce Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett. She is a joyful living mentor, a success coach, and the holistic healer for the new era of spirituality, awakening souls. So can't wait to talk about that. You know it. She helps them release their emotional baggage so they can have a happy, peaceful, and fulfilling life that they deserve. Wendy is also the best-selling author of Healing Your Soul in a Chaotic World, Defying the Odds of Sanity and Survival, as well as contributing author of the #1 international best-selling Empowered Self-Care, Healing Body, Mind, and Soul for a Better World. Whew, I cannot wait to talk about all of those, folks. She nearly destroyed her life with a self-abuse, anxiety, and depression. Through the miracle of divine intervention, which you know we talk about a lot on the show, she stopped the madness and transformed her life. Now she is a beacon of hope for others, silently crying out for help and yearning to know that they matter. Wendy, welcome to Living the Liminal, because just me reading that last sentence, there's so many people that need this conversation today and need everything that I just read. So I can't wait for us to talk, but welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christy. I'm so honored and excited to be here. We are going to have a lot of fun. We are so on the same page with all of this. So yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, that's a lot that I just read. A lot of words, a lot of all. What I'm going to say is it's a lot of diverse language. And so often, until even probably in the last like maybe 5 years, maybe not even that long, really, we didn't really put the spirituality piece in with the body and the mind piece. We did not integrate those parts together. So how did this work find you?
You're absolutely right. And it's so exciting that this is becoming more mainstream. And the way, how did this find me? The spiritual part, or do you mean the whole part of this? I'll just talk about the whole thing. Like I said it in the intro, I nearly destroyed myself. And it was absolutely through divine intervention, because I battled between wanting to live and die ever since I was a little girl. And fortunately, the part of me that wanted to live was sending out an SOS to the universe. Mm-hmm. And beautiful people came into my life just in the perfect timing. And I love how that works. And let's talk about the spirituality part first, because this was absolutely very transformational. Mm-hmm. My belief system is that we are all divine beings of light, and we forgot who we are. And
yes, we just keep forgetting.
We do. And so a part of our journey is, of course, back to joy, but it's also remembering who we are. And we cut ourselves off from this incredible support system that is our divine universe. It is whatever you want to call it. Some people call it God, some people call it angels, some people call it spirit guides. It doesn't matter whatever you call it. What it means is just that source that is greater than you, that is there to support you. I absolutely cut myself off. I mean, somebody who wants to die obviously is not living connected to their source. And that part came back to me. First of all, I was raised in a very strict religious upbringing. And I bought into that religion, hook, line, and sinker, until I started getting into my 40s and started my transformational journey. And within that journey, I went through the transformation of letting go of what I was taught and opening up to myself what I feel is more expansive. Because how I was raised was very dogmatic. God was going to punish you. I was going to go to hell by the time I was a teenager. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point? And then when I started letting go, first of all, it was really scary. It was a very scary part, allowing the spirituality to come into my life. The actual turning point for this, it was a time, I actually share some of this in my book. I was living in Hawaii, and I was going to a meditation out on this beautiful part of the island. Of course, there's no ugly parts, right? But we're right here by the ocean. The sun is setting, the mountains are in the background, and I was working with a small group of people, and we started doing angel healing. And this incredible force came through me. And because the leader said that we all still had anger within us, and I had so much rage and hate in my body, it was unbelievable how much I had. And it was so powerful to acknowledge another piece that, yes, I had this, and just to allow this source to come through me. And I laid there and I bawled and I bawled and I bawled and I bawled and I bawled. And when I got done, I didn't have any more tears left. I said, how can I serve? And that was like a really big turning point of allowing, I call spirit guides, I call my angels, I call Mother, Father, God. I believe that there's no female balance. And when I started doing that, then I started a process of grounding myself and asking the divine universe to come and be in me, to spread beyond my human form, so that every man, woman, and child that crosses my path is blessed by this divine, light.
Right.
And bringing that spirituality into my life absolutely was a pivotal piece of transforming my life and finding the joy and the peace that I was so hungry for.
Yeah. Well, so was that like the first time that you really experienced it, your religion? Okay. Because you were really transforming belief systems, value systems that were held in a confinement that was so restrictive that it didn't allow for self-expression or self-expansion. It was just live this way. So was that the first time then your body started to like almost crave a new way as well? Because spirituality comes through our body, but it doesn't really transform the body per se or the mind.
That's a really good question. And actually, what comes to mind, the very first time I had any kind of an experience that I remember on the spiritual realm is actually years ago, back when my children were small. I was in a rollover accident. I hit black ice and I was in a truck, and it was December. In fact, it was almost this time of year, and it was below zero. And as I was rolling over, the thought went through my head, oh, people die from this. And I reached out and I said, God, help me. And I had the most incredible, peaceful feeling come over me that I had never experienced before. And I couldn't explain it. And it was so beautiful. And I accepted it. And then I kind of shut it out. And so, yes, it was years later when I was on that beach front.
Right. Okay.
When I allowed it to come in. Because I tell you what, it was really scary for me to go through that process of letting go of religion and stepping into spirituality, because there's so much fear around being accepted within the family.
Right.
Because, how dare I go and believe in something that my parents, my ancestors don't believe in? I was expected to believe what they believed.
Right.
And
to then act upon those beliefs in that very, like I said, confined, restricted place, that if you didn't, you need to get back in line.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And fortunately, I'm old enough that I had to learn to stand up for myself. And there was some pushback from different family members. I had one family member just trying to talk to her about energy healing. Oh my God, that's not in the Bible. I have people who seriously still pray for my soul because they think I'm going to go to hell for my beliefs. Fortunately, I'm to that point now I get to bless them and honor where they are and honor myself and just be okay.
Yeah, I love the fact that we can take those who maybe are working against us in that way, that energetic work against us, because they're so defending and protecting their own space, that their own beliefs and their own unwillingness to change, that I love that like when you get grounded enough in yourself, like you are, you're remembering that you can look at them and just say, whew, I bless you and I wish you well. It's such a freedom.
Yes, it is.
To not take that on anymore. I think that's when you had talked about, like, part of your religious views were like, you could not do wrong. I mean, that's a sin to do wrong. There's so many sins out there. We can't, we can't sin in this way, because if you do, then all of this is going to happen. And spirituality just opens and blows that all up for you.
Well, absolutely. Right. And one of a big thing about the religion that was so ingrained in me is don't be too happy, because if you're too happy, God's going to take it away.
Yes.
And in spirituality, it's like, be joyful. That's why you're here, is to be happy, to express yourself,
yes,
to be who you are. And that is a being of light and love and joy.
So that remembering, because I think that's so important when we talk about like transformation and change and adopting new ways of acting and even awakening our souls, is really understanding. It is truly about remembering who you are and what you are. And so your experience when you were in the car accident and you felt this overwhelming peace, that helped you, right? To go back and remember that peace you felt in that moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Was there other rememberings that came in as well?
Not necessarily, not until that time when I was, going to that meditation. So before that, it was not necessarily, I'll say, maybe little snippets here and there.
Okay.
But not anything really to hang on to. So perhaps maybe one way to say it is like there may have been like some little nudges here and there pushing me there, but I wasn't consciously aware of it.
Okay.
It was following the path where the path led and just being open. I was so desperate to heal myself that I was willing to try anything and listen to any kind of guidance that I got. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm glad I didn't shut it out again.
Yeah, because I think it only is a choice. It's just like these constant little conscious choices we make. And I love how you said you weren't conscious enough, because these things are always happening around us.
Yes.
The signs, the synchronicities, the nudges, they're always there. Yes. They're there to guide you. The experiences even come. The people show up. If you don't recognize that they're there for you,
right,
then you're not following that path, right? That your soul is craving to kind of continue to walk on. Yes. And part of remembering is, oh, that's what that means. Yeah. That's what that's coming for in that way. Exactly. So the whole idea of soul and awakening, that's a big topic right now. Like our souls and getting in touch with our souls. And I think a lot of people struggle with the concept of like soul when it has to do with, we've always talked about like mind, body, spirit. So how do you define that mind, body, spirit, which is the way we've always talked about our wholeness, right? And now we're bringing in the concept of soul. And I think it's kind of confusing for a lot of people. So how do you help people navigate that understanding of all those parts?
Well, it's I don't know if we necessarily have to separate spirit from soul. We can have that be combined if that's what works for people right now. But for soul, for myself, it's the deepest part of the authentic part of who I am, of who you are, of who every person is.
Okay.
When you see people misbehaving, right? That is not who that person really is. That is their ego part. Their soul is bright and beautiful and love. And just like this, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to express this right. I can see
Imperfect,
it. I
right?
can
Our
see it.
souls are perfectly
Yes,
divinely
yes,
created. Okay,
yes,
yes.
yeah, absolutely. We are these balls of light. It's like it's our
Right.
soul that passes on when we pass away, when we leave this earthly form. And when you leave, that part of you is pure perfection. And so one of the things, like when I work with people, what's really powerful is to going in and asking, what was it that your soul needed from this experience? And when people go in and see things from themselves, not from the ego self, but from the soul self, from their genuine self, for remembering who they are, it's super, super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So that question, say that question again, because that kind of resonated with me. What did your soul need from this experience?
Exactly. Yeah,
That
exactly.
is such a part, because then you're coming from the place of perfect wholeness,
Right.
and you're just adding value to, you're adding learning, you're adding wisdom, versus the ego, which is coming from that, something's wrong with you, you're not good enough, and I got to piece your pieces back together because you're broken.
Right. Yeah, nobody is broken. It's the ego part of us that feels that we're broken, but we really aren't. And you know what? There's a meme that goes around social media, and I don't know, I can't repeat it verbatim, but basically, we get to fall apart, to break, so that we can remember who we really are. Because that breaking, that feeling broken, that is not who we are. All
Yeah.
that pain and that suffering, that is not who we are.
Right.
So yeah, we are not broken.
Well, what's coming to me is this image, and it may work, but it works for me in this moment. Is like when a baby chick is coming out of its shell for the first time, it has to break the shell. The shell actually has to crack open, break open. And then the little baby chick makes that conscious choice to step out of that broken part.
Yes.
And flourish and grow.
Yes.
And that's how I kind of think transformation and healing, whatever we want to call it, is you deciding inside that safe wall of your barriers for whatever mindset, low ways of thinking about yourself, not vibrating in the right resonant, low energy, toxic past, whatever it is, you're breaking open a shell that you've created around you, and you're ready to step out into something new.
Yes, that is beautifully said. That shell is like your little safety zone.
Yeah.
And as you know, it's like you said, it's up to that chick to decide, and no one can do it for you. And like if they say, if someone cracks the egg for the chick will actually die, because it had to go through that experience of that transformation. And that's the way we are too. We have to go through that experience. No one can do it for us.
So in that transformation, you talk about like emotional triggers. And this is the part I think really scares people to really change, is you have to face emotional triggers, the things that kind of send lightning through your body and kind of get you all wound up, right? And you have to like look at your patterns that maybe are self-sabotaging you, which I think self-sabotage is very powerful to keep us safe at some point, and then at some point it just doesn't work anymore. It keeps us hidden and not safe anymore. And so how do you help somebody identify those things in a very safe way?
It's a lot of fun.
Is that even possible?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to commend everybody who is brave enough to look at their emotions and look at how they feel, instead of being on rinse and repeat, like you say, continuing those patterns. It takes so much courage to stop and say, hey, I'm uncomfortable. I'm ready to look at this. When I work with clients, we set a very safe environment. And it's the thing about facing these emotions is we make it out to be this big, terrifying thing. And again, I'll go back to that's our ego. And when you understand that you only have to look at this momentarily, because you get through the transformation so fast. It's unbelievable how fast you can go from a traumatic memory, when you go in and you identify what's really going on, And again, I use very safe, gentle techniques to help people. Nobody has to relive a trauma.
Right.
And you go in and just identify what it is that you're feeling and go through the releasing process. It's so exhilarating. And people, when they go through the process, like, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? I can't believe I've been packing this around for so long. I've been guilty of that too. It's like, man, had I known
Because it feels so
sooner.
much different. Like you can feel the
Oh,
difference
it's
when you're
night and
carrying the trauma
day.
versus when you're not carrying the trauma.
Absolutely. It's night and day. Within an hour, you can cover so much territory and have an incredible transformation where you walk into a session just all heavy, like you said,
Yeah.
it's very heavy on you, and you walk out and you're light and you're like, holy cow, because it's all energy. The painful emotions that we pack around, they all have a vibrational element to them.
Right.
And that low level vibration, actually, it really does weigh us down. And so we unpack it, like the metaphor of unpacking the bricks out of your backpack or your crap sack,
Yeah.
unloading all of that. And it's so freeing. And so for people, I just say, just have the courage. It is scary. When I first started my journey down this path, I was absolutely terrified. Absolutely terrible. I was afraid of what people were going to think of me. I was afraid of facing my past. But once you get a taste for it, there is no turning back.
Yeah. It's almost like you get, well, as women, it's almost like you turn into Wonder Woman when you start to release these things and you think, wow, there's like so much more to me than what I ever thought, or there's so much more that I could be doing. Radical kinds of acceptance kind of just automatically and innately, just instinctively comes to you then.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. All of this dis-ease that is in us, I refer to it as the masks that we wear.
Yeah.
You get to unload, take off the mask, take off the robes of this disguise, because all this dysfunction is like you're walking around in a disguise. You unload that and get to be your beautiful self.
Yeah, it's almost like the world is in the middle of a shift of moving from Halloween to, I don't know, something where we're just naked and vulnerable, where we're not wearing all that stuff anymore. And I think there's a pulse of craving what that is and coming through. You talk about, and so do a lot of others, and I've always wondered this, the body has an innate wisdom, right? To get us back to this harmonious existence, right? Energetically and physically and stuff. Okay. So if that's true, then what gets the body out of whack?
What gets our body out of whack is our emotions, our environment.
Okay.
It's packing around the feeling of not being loved. It's the packing around of not feeling safe. When your body knows that you're safe, then your body can go into a state of healing. And it's knowing that you're worthy. It's being in the state of joy. Because again, going back to the vibration of our emotions, all of that resonates within our body. There's the famous scientist, the Dr. Emoto, I'm sorry, my mind is spacing right now, but he did that study on water. So you're putting out the energy, you put out joy and happiness into this beacon of water, and you get these beautiful crystals. It's the same thing with our bodies. We put all this happiness into us, and our body will automatically go back to the state of homeostasis. You put all this rage and hate into this vial of water, and you're going to get all this pollution. You're going to get all of these dysfunctional crystals, and you have that rage and hate in your body, and you're going to have disease. There's so much science now backing up, and it's so exciting. I love talking about this, all the science that backs up all of this emotion in your environment that affects your disease. One of my standard Bibles, I call it, is Metaphysical Anatomy, where that Rose goes in and talks all about the emotions behind all this disease. And myself, I've healed so many things within my body because I had to start with the emotions. What got me into this was my thyroid. I had a lump on my thyroid right here, looked like it swallowed a carrot sideways. Doctors told me I was normal, which I was gaining weight like crazy. I was way too young to feel like such an old woman napping a couple hours a day. And they did nothing for me, bless their hearts. And I turned to this this other way of healing myself. And it was all the rage and hate that came out of my throat. And when I got all that rage and hate out of that part of my body, and I had to do some detoxing as well, that lump went away and I was down 40 pounds and I was back to being normal.
Wow.
But I had to get those emotions out, because for myself, I swallowed the rage, I swallowed the hate. Some people choose to express rage and hate towards other people. I expressed all of my pent up rage and hate that I felt towards other people onto myself.
Yeah. You kept it hidden inside.
Yes.
Those places.
Yes.
And okay, so if everything is energy and emotion, if we can simply say everything is about an emotion and it evokes an energy, and energy is always moving, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if everything is an emotion and energy, how can we help people understand that when an emotion comes up within you, or if you have somebody who projects an emotion onto you and you feel it, how can we, in a healthy way, not carry those with us?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I'm going to start with the last part of the people who project on us, because that is really big, especially right now, the last, since the pandemic hit. So many people are packing around group consciousness around this. Yes. And I've worked with so many people that they'll have pains in their shoulders and they just feel depressed and this and that. We go in and we release this group consciousness. And it's super important to every day get yourself grounded, and you can clean out your energy field using your child's imagination, because we have this field, our energy field around us, and it does pick up the vibrations of other people. Right. And we get to clear that out. And also, when we heal ourselves, our emotions, we don't pick up other people's negative energy the same way. And because we just don't attract that. And what we can do for ourselves is, it's really powerful when you have an emotion that you're not wanting. Let's say you're feeling lonely or feeling sad or depressed, mm-hmm. wherever. You can ask yourself, okay, when did this start? What is it that I need to know about this? And take this from, instead of being like a victim mentality, take it from the take charge mentality of what is it that I need? What part of my inner child is calling out to me that needs some love and nurturing right now? There's so much that we can do. And it's so powerful when we acknowledge how we feel, because we're so used to numbing ourselves. We numb ourselves with our food and with alcohol and shopping and all kinds of addictions. And so, just acknowledge that and just go in and start having conversations with yourself. What is it that I'm really feeling? And it can be really shocking when you start unpacking. I mean, just the emotion of anger, right? That's an umbrella, because anger seems to be a socially acceptable emotion, right? We're like, oh, they're just mad, whatever. What is underneath that anger?
There's always so much more underneath anger than just, it's just anger. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So identifying what you really feel and just being willing to and find somebody, there's things you can do on your own, but there's some things that are super deep and you do need help. I need help, and we're all here to help each other. So just acknowledge what you're feeling. Start with that.
I think that's such an important concept in our universe, in our world right now, and in our environments, is we're so afraid of people's emotions. I don't know why that is. It just boggles me sometimes, but we're so afraid to just witness someone having an emotion about whatever, and letting them just hold space for them to just feel that. We are always wanting to fix, bypass, shield, numb, like as quick as, I remember reading sometimes 90 seconds. I think that was Pema Chodron. That was like 90 seconds and then the emotion will go.
Yeah.
Just let someone feel those things.
Yeah.
And we don't even wait that long. That's not even really that long. We don't like waiting that long. We are constantly in this like fast pace, which I think the age of technology sort of created that it's like a cultural persona of wanting everything quick and fast, right? So even emotions, we got mixed up and entangled in that.
Right.
And not letting people just feel.
Right.
That is such an important part.
It is the healing is in the feeling.
Yeah. And honoring those deep feelings that are sitting in your body and carrying on that other energy.
Yeah.
So tell us about your book, Healing Your Soul in a Chaotic World. That just made me kind of laugh, because a chaotic world, I mean, I've just recently been really talking up, like there's so much noise. You have to learn how to shut the noise out. And then you have Defying the Odds of Sanity and Survival. Whew, those words go together. Maybe that's hilarious. So tell us about that book.
Well, here I have a copy of it so you can see what it looks like. And there's the reasonings behind the butterflies of transformation, and water is actually about, emotions. And so transforming your emotions.
Yeah.
Excuse me. My book is actually my story of transformation, starting at birth and going up through my healing transformation. And I write it in current times, so people are going through the events with me. And it's in the back of it, I'm just doing it really fast here, but in the back of it, there's like a self-help section called The Secret Formula to your Best Life Ever. And it goes through what are some very key points that people need to look at to find their joy. And my book, the reason that I wrote my book, first of all, I did it for myself, just to, it was very cathartic to write my book. And when I got it all written, I wasn't going to publish it. I was too afraid, because I'm extremely vulnerable. I share very deep pain. And I was encouraged by a stranger that I met through a dating site. I swore I would never go on, because I got divorced during this process. And he encouraged me to publish my book, and I got over myself and decided to publish it. And I'm really glad that I did, because the people that have read it have, instead of, that original fear of people are going to judge me, got over that. With people are like, oh my God, this has really helped me, because I understand, you understand what I'm going through, or I was triggered by something and I was able to heal this within my life. And it's my book is my hope is that it's a beacon of hope, showing people that yes, you can go through all these traumas, and you can be an absolute mess. You can feel like a disaster. And when you are ready to take charge of your life, do things that are out of the box, ask for help, and take action, and your life will change, and you will start experiencing the life that you were meant to live, to find that joy and to live in that joy that you deserve, and that you are here to experience as that soul.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a power in especially women telling their stories, because as women, we build up barriers of shame and toxicity and our own inauthentic belonging to ourselves, based on, how did this happen? How did I let this happen? And it's like, we're the emoting ones. Like, women are really gifted in the whole emotional agency piece. So if we can tell our story of surviving and thriving, of not only getting through, but making it through and feeling empowered in this new place that we've remembered or we've orchestrated, then you give that to other women. You heal that in other women. That's what it also means. It's not just generational behind you. It's the generations in front of you and on the side of you that also need what you're doing and need your Wonder Woman powers to be activated in that way.
Absolutely. And it is my belief that it's us women that are going to change the world.
Yeah.
We get to start with changing ourselves, being our whole, true, authentic self, and being this of light and love, and through nurturing and caring. And so, absolutely. You're spot on.
Yeah. And I think the more we voice those stories and we share our stories, and we don't sit in that toxic shame and that inauthentic belonging and that fake personas, the better off we're creating ripples if we can be our true self and let our souls come alive and let our souls guide our wisdom out into the world.
Yes, absolutely.
And stand in that leadership.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I love that, standing that leadership. You know, I have three granddaughters, and I have three granddaughters and a grandson. And my oldest granddaughter, you know, firstborns tend to be leaders. And she was, we had a conversation one day because she was trying to be really bossy. And it's like, you know, let's have a conversation between the difference between being a boss and being a leader. And every woman is actually a leader. You know, we lead our families. We lead wherever we go. That's another part that we forgot that we are. And I love that
we're really here.
Yeah. And I love that you talk about the women's wisdom, because that is something that we need to embrace. We are wise souls.
Yes. Yes, we are. I love you talking about your granddaughters, because I have a daughter, and I remember one time, I've told this story before, but it feels like it's wanting to be told again. I told the story about, you know, we were in a public place together with other moms and daughters, and my daughter has a voice, and we have freely given her a voice. And so she started in on me about something, and I just stood there smiling and let it just bounce around. And another mom was like, wow, how do you let her just talk like that to you? Doesn't anything rise up in you? And I was like, no, I mean, I'm not liking it. It's certainly not really acceptable. What I know is that we gave her a voice, and I can't tell her, well, honey, you can't use your voice now versus another time. So where we all come back together is through the nurturing of that voice to powerfully teach her and embed in her. How do you use your voice to be heard?
Yes.
Versus use your voice in protection or defending of something.
Yes.
And those were powerful conversations we had with her. My husband and I both had with her, is that it wasn't an option of, do you have a voice or not? It was the option of, well, how are you using your voice?
Yes.
And let me nurture in you how to use your voice. But in teaching that, I had to let her have a voice and it not look so good.
Yep.
Because that's how she learned the impact and the empowerment of what she had to offer the world. Yes. And we don't learn it by silencing.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah. Oh, I love that story. That's beautiful, because so many of us women were silenced. You know, I grew up in an era where children were to be seen and not heard, and especially women. And as a woman in my particular family, we were basically second-class citizens. You know, it was the boys that were more important.
Yeah.
And so I love that you were empowering your daughter. And I have a daughter as well, and I did something very similar of allowing her to be her strong self. And yes, like you said, you guide them on how to do that in a healthy way. So
yeah,
good for you.
I just feel like it's so important to be who we didn't get when we were younger.
Yes, yes.
And whether that's as a mother or whether that's as the way we are right here having this conversation, you know, or whether it's with when you go shopping and the clerk at the store. I mean, you have the opportunity to always be who you never had in your past. Yep, whatever that is, you get to have those choices to be different in any. So why not be what you wanted to see early on, or what you wanted around you, or to be more nurturing because you didn't have that, or whatever. Be more loving if you didn't have that.
Absolutely. I love that, because, you know, you hear so many people say, well, I am this way because this is how I was raised. You know what? That's a cop-out. It's a choice. You get to choose. You know, I was raised in an abusive home. Did I choose to continue that pattern? No, I chose to be a parent to my children, the kind of mother that I wanted to be. We all get to be different. You know, you're raised in an alcoholic family. Well, my parents were alcoholics. Like, well, so, I am sorry to hear that, but that doesn't mean you have to be. You made the choice to be that way. You made the choice to do whatever it is. So you get to choose. So yes, choose to be that loving person, absolutely, that you wanted.
And choose to figure it out. You also talk about emotions as a choice. Yeah. Tell me what you mean by emotions as a choice, because a lot of people think that emotions just come about, right? So what do you mean by that?
Okay, sometimes, yeah, sometimes your emotions do come up, but when you recognize, oh, I'm feeling angry right now, do I really want to stay angry? Because you talked earlier about the 90-second with the emotions, and that's around anger. Because, like you said, after that, the chemical reaction is gone. And after that, it is a complete choice. I get to choose, am I going to stay angry or am I going to shift into a different feeling? Am I going to feel sorry for myself, or am I going to find a way to empower myself? How do I want to feel in this moment? When the emotion does come, it's okay to feel that emotion and to, oh, I'm feeling this way, acknowledge it. I'm feeling this way. Do I want to continue down this path? Yes. Okay, then continue down that path of being angry, continue being down that path of feeling sad. Or you can say, no, I don't want to feel this way anymore. What is another feeling that I can choose? We absolutely
I
have
love
the
that.
choices.
I love that it empowers people to decide in the moment. Do I
Yes,
want to feel like this or do I not?
that's right.
Can I just let this go?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're finding that it's just too much to let go, do your best to still feel a little bit better anyway, and then go and get help. If you need help with that deeper anger, if you need help with that deeper shame, if you need help with those deeper emotions, it's okay. But just you get to choose if you want to stay in that state in that moment.
Yeah, I feel like we don't ask for help enough.
We don't. No.
I feel like we create little cyclones of keeping to ourselves.
Yes.
And we don't want anyone to know that we're carrying around such toxic shame and betrayal and hurt and pain. And we're so afraid to let that be seen that we don't ask for help. And my gosh, there's so many ways to get help
Yes, there
nowadays.
are. Yeah, there absolutely are. So there's no excuse. Just have to have the courage. And something a little bit deeper is if people, there's called what's called secondary gains. People can get so wrapped up into their story, into their pain story, and they don't want to get out of it. And why is that? Because there's an underlying benefit to staying how they were.
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember, and I can still get locked in the story. I mean, I can, and I'll start being like, oh, I'm just sick of listening even to myself talk about this story. It just needs to stop. And I have had clients where you just start to hear the same story, and I have to stop them. And okay, this story is serving you. And sometimes they'll look at me and be like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, you're getting something from it.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes it is safer. I mean, I want to give credit to those who have been raised in very traumatic family systems because it can feel safer to be in the discomfort, to remain in the story, to keep that narrative close to you.
Yes.
It almost feels more comfortable than joy. Don't you kind of see that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you will because yeah, that's your safe spot. That's what you know. And it's amazing. It's amazing concept that love and joy can be very scary for people.
Yes.
And so like, no, I can't be happy. No, I can't feel love. So I need to be here. And with that dysfunction, what can happen too is when we're no longer necessarily living in the same home life, but we feel that that's what we deserved, was that abusive way of being. And so we create situations that we have those patterns that we attract people that will treat us the same way. And we also have internal abusers. So if I start getting too happy, oh my God, I got to abuse myself, and it's all subconscious. So yeah, absolutely. And people with the most trauma can have the biggest challenges, which also means they can have the biggest breakthroughs, which is super exciting. And I've worked with some people that have been through some severe trauma, and it's just such a blessing and a miracle. I'll call it a miracle to watch them transform and
Oh my gosh.
out of that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell this story because it's coming up. So I was working with a client the other day, and she was in the story, in the narrative, and she's very, very spiritual. Okay, so she's in the narrative, and so she has a lot of wisdom up there, and she's pulling from it. So I ask a question, And the question was very simple. And I felt it and she felt it. There was this wave of like a barrier that just came across. And she was like, whoa, what just happened? Wait, I didn't even hear your question. And it was like this energetic exchange of how her mind can even create an energetic barrier to keep her in that story, that mind frame, that inner narrative within her brain and her mind, and how the ego really does not want you to let go of that story and keeps you. And so we had to keep going, and we were both like, I knew what I had. She's like, do you feel it? I'm like, uh-huh. So I'm like, okay, let's just sit with that barrier. Let's just sit with that resistance for a moment. This means that it's serving you, but why would it serve me if I want to get out of it? And it was so miraculous to watch because it was so unconscious, but she was bringing it into the consciousness of being aware of like, whoa, that's exactly what happens in my everyday life and why I keep having the same pattern over and over and over again. So sometimes it can even be unconsciously, we keep ourselves locked in a narrative or a story energetically too, because it feels safer than doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the other miraculous part I've seen in my own healing work and even those of my clients is we can hold multiple emotions at the same time.
Oh, women, we're very good at multitasking.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think people really realize that you can have like a lot of grief and pain, and you can still have a little bit of joy, and you can hold both spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the other part of the work that I think you do too, and I do, and we all have these abilities to help people understand. It's not just you have to be in one or the other.
That's right.
We are multifaceted. We have this, our bodies can hold space for a lot of things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And on that same note, we can also live in conflict where we want to be happy, but we also want to be unhappy.
Oh, yes. Yes. What do you think is the biggest struggle for people that come to you?
One of the biggest struggles is, well, people come to me often with a lot of anger. What's underneath all of that is their worthiness, knowing that they are worthy to be happy, that they are worthy of love, they are worthy of whatever it is that they desire. And it's also a lot of women, we're very good at beating ourselves up, being our own worst enemy. And so it's a matter of coming back to that self-love.
Yeah. How do you think we can, as women, nurture that self-love more often than we do?
By putting ourselves first. Most of us are taught to take care of other people. And if there's a little bit of energy or time left over, then we can focus on ourselves. When we start taking the time every single day and making ourselves a priority, that is a really good start. And knowing that it is not selfish to take care of ourselves, it's self-love, because so many of us are taught that it is selfish to put ourselves first, and it's not. It's the opposite. Like they say, the famous analogy on the airplane, you got to give yourself oxygen first, before anybody else. That's what we have to do. We have to start putting ourselves first. Even if people kick and scream, our families, we teach people how to treat us. So people are not used to us taking time for ourselves. They might get really mad because you're not focusing on them right now, but they will get over it.
Right.
And it's okay. Yeah. It's okay if your partner or your children or your parents, whatever, get upset at you for taking care of yourself, because that's their problem. It's not your problem.
Well, and we're really talking about more than just go sit in the bathroom and close the door, lock the door. I mean, right. That kind of makes me laugh, but it's sort of sad that that's what a lot of women do. Let me go into the bathroom to either take a shower or go to the bathroom, and let me lock the door because then I can have 5 minutes to myself. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about so much more to caring and nurturing. We're talking really, I don't even almost like to use the word care, because I think we can get lost in that too. I like to use the words nurturing and nourishing. If you are not nurtured, which means you are giving to yourself in an enormous way. And if you're not nourishing that, which means, okay, what do you do to nourish a plant? You add water, you give it sun, you do all these things. If you're not doing these things regularly in your own life, it's not going to happen.
That's right. That's exactly right. And when we don't nourish and nurture ourselves, we look for it from external sources that are not
Yes.
necessarily of our highest good or the healthiest
Oh,
ways.
I think if women could turn that around in a heartbeat, I mean, the stores may not be happy with us because we will not be buying as much. And, maybe we're not taking as many trips with our friends, or maybe we're taking different kinds of trips. But, and I just use those as silly little examples. The idea is that if we really woke up every day and said, how am I going to nurture and nourish myself today? First and foremost, what is that going to look like? Where can I plug that in throughout my day? Plan it out, write a note, sticky note all over if you have to keep yourself committed to showing up for yourself. And I feel like this ripple would just go out. I mean, our kids would just, I feel like they would feel in a different way from us as mothers.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the world from us as leaders.
Yes, absolutely, because we are projecting our energy out to our children, and our children are especially vulnerable about picking up our energy. They learn about the world, subconsciously, especially like the first 7 years. So those are like the most critical when children learn about everything. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you also wrote a part of Empowered Self-Care, and we were just talking about healing mind, body, and soul for a better world. What was your chapter about in that book?
Owning your worthiness. How many women do you know actually own their worthiness, that feel that they are worthy of a loving partner, of loving themselves, of having whatever it is that their heart desires? I see this over and over and over on women who do not feel worthy. It was something that I went through. I didn't feel worthy of love. I didn't feel worthy of so much. I'm sure that you could probably perhaps relate
I mean,
to that as well.
There was so much shame around if I even felt, I mean, the comments that would come to me, because I have a husband and a family, and I remember in my own family that when we went from a smaller house to a bigger house, because we have 4 children, and the smaller house, we were outgrowing it, and we were all sharing rooms and everyone was on top of one another. And I was like, this is not going to work. I mean, this is just really not going to work. And so when we went to find a house that would accommodate the fact that we were a family of 6, oh my gosh, the comments that would come in from people. And I was like, what is going on here? And then I had to really start to realize, wow, that's from my own, I'm even doing that. Like I'm shaming myself because of their comments, and that's toxic.
Right. Yeah.
So twisting that around and saying, wait a minute, was a huge moment for me. Huge moment. And I think in the healing, you're right. It's about remembering, I'm worthy of this.
Yes. You were born worthy.
Yeah. I do agree. If we can get women to own their worthiness, it would be just incredible.
Yes, it would.
In this world. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation. Where can people get your books?
It's available on Amazon in paperback as well as Kindle. I do have some on hand. If anybody want an autographed copy, they can email me at info@alignwithjoy. Excuse me.
Okay.
.com. And so anyway, very easy at Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
And if someone would like to, we're going to give all your information for your website and how they can get a hold of you. If someone is listening and feeling like, I want to work with her to kind of turn my life around and do this, because your wisdom is so incredible and you have such an amazing lived experience. I think, more and more I'm believing the world is shifting to, we want to connect with people with lived experience so that we can find a commonality in understanding each other and connecting in a different way.
Yes. Yes.
So I really appreciate it. I'm going to start asking you our high 5 questions. Okay.
Okay.
What inspires you?
Ooh, you know what? My grandchildren inspire me.
Oh, how old are they?
I have a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and a newborn.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Yes.
That just sounds incredibly fun. Those are fun ages too.
Well, they really are. And my oldest one, I will say here, my oldest one, she actually gave me inspiration to keep living because when I was going through some really deep, dark times, and I came really close not too long ago to just calling it quits. And I remember that I had made a commitment to her that I would stick around. And so she was my inspiration to keep on living. And I just have to throw in here about that little girl. She is they're all incredible, but she has this an amazing outlook on life that every day is the best day ever. She has said that ever since she was
I
like
love
4,
it.
5 years old. Every day, oh, Grammy, this is the best day ever. Oh, this is the best day ever. I was like, can you imagine if all of us woke up every day and said, this is the best day ever?
I kind of feel like maybe that's how we shift the consciousness is let's, to whoever's listening, let's encourage you that when you wake up in the morning before you even get out of bed, we've said, oh, if you thank be grateful, do your act of gratitude before you get out of bed. I'm going to say, no, you can do that kind of stuff all freaking day long, right?
Right.
What if we, before we got out of bed, we just said, this is going to be the best day ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe children, okay? And I know there are a lot of other people who say this as well. But for me, my 4 children have been my greatest teachers. I mean, they wig me out, they ruffle me, they make me laugh. Sometimes they make me freaking cry because they say stuff that I'm like, who are you to say that to me? And yet I'm like, thank you for saying that to me. Thank you for pointing that out to me because I need to work on that. I've always believed they are our grandest teachers. They are here to teach and empower us. It's not the other way around. And so how beautiful that she's teaching. Let's just take that wisdom that every day we're going to wake up and say, this is the best day ever. That's beautiful. Just gorgeous. I can tell she has a great attitude with that kind of stuff. So besides that, how do you have fun?
Besides playing with my grandbabies,
I mean, we could probably just plug them in for every one of these things. The grandkids, the grandkids, the grandkids.
I do have fun. I do have two new puppies. I've never been a big dog person. I've been a cat person, and I joke around and say I've turned to the dark side and just fell in love with a dog that led to this path to these new puppies. I like to bake for relaxation. I love to bake. So,
do you have a favorite thing that you bake?
I love to bake cookies, sweet breads, anything fattening, sugary.
So. Anything that's not really what we should be eating, but it's so darn good. Eat it anyway. I tell people, eat it anyway. Just enjoy it. That's right. Have joy.
That's right.
I know the other day I have this infatuation for potato chips and a certain kind of potato chip. And so sometimes when my kids see me eating it, they're like, Mom, that's not. And I'm like, stop. My body is asking, my head's asking, this is doing my heart good. Leave me sit in my happy place with my bag of potato chips. And do not talk to me right now. And they just laugh. They laugh and walk away because it's so crazy that I am like, no, I'm in love with this bag of potato chips and leave me alone. I'm happy here. So I think the more we can identify little things like that do bring us joy and stay in that feeling of joy.
Yes.
That's not a bad place. Yeah,
absolutely. It's not what you eat. It's the energy behind what you're eating.
Right.
Yeah.
What is one thing you can't live without besides your grandchildren? We already know they fit everywhere here.
Oh, what thing I can't live without? I can't live without. Oh, wow. This is such a big question. The first thing that comes to mind is I can't live without my children.
Yeah. How many children do you have?
I have 2. They're both adults. They're both parents. And, I think about this often, though. It's like, I don't know if this sounds bad or not, but if my children weren't here, I don't know that I would necessarily want to keep walking the earth. So.
Nice. What does freedom mean?
Oh, freedom means getting to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. Freedom means just feeling that sense of joy and just being happy and alive. Freedom feels being alive.
Do you think no matter what is going on in our country, we can feel a sense of freedom still?
Absolutely. I have conversations with people about this, periodically where people get so sucked into the drama that's going on. And I just stay in my happy place. It's like I'm aware of what's going on in the world, but am I staying up at night about it? Am I fretting about it? No. We can absolutely have the peace and the joy no matter what. We get to choose if we want to be sucked in. We get to choose how we feel.
I think that's so important. That's why I asked that question, because I think given the nature of the world that we live in right now, there are a lot of people that believe we don't have freedom. And I believe that we always have a freedom. We have a freedom of how we're going to experience a situation.
Yes, absolutely.
And again, we can hold multiple emotions about a situation. We can hold grief and we can hold love at the same time. And we can hold joy and we can hold sadness at the same time. Yeah. So if you can understand that aspect, that you have that ability, that is a choice you're making, then you have freedom all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And freedom is a choice.
Yeah, I love that. What are you grateful for besides your grandchildren?
Oh, come on.
And your children. I'm just like, you can't say those things. We already know that.
You know what, Christy, I am really grateful that I hung on for the ride. I'm really grateful that I didn't end my life.
I'm really grateful that you didn't either. You have a lot to offer the world and a beautiful, beautiful, energetic essence about you. I'm grateful you're here too.
Thank you.
I think you have an incredible story. Keep telling that story. You are not alone. And there are so many people that are out there, and I loved how you said that. I kind of toggled between life and death, like wanting to live and wanting to die. I think there are so many incredible people, kids, even into adults, that live in that unknown place of wanting to live and wanting to die and not knowing what to do. So keep telling your story, keep offering your insight and your wisdom and your incredible experiences, because they are truly needed. And just like we can hold multiple emotions, we can hold multiple desires too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you so very much, Wendy, for being on our show today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. And I just realized that when you were talking about how to get hold of me earlier, I didn't know if I was supposed to tell you my website at that time or if I was supposed to tell you now on how to get a hold of me.
You can tell us now, and then it'll also be on the show notes. Go ahead and tell us so it's here since people are listening.
Okay, yeah, you can just go to my website. It's alignwithjoy.com, ALIGN with joy.com. And on there, I also have a handout. It's, you scroll down just a little bit. It's for the Unlimited Women, Unlimited Woman. It's 5 powerful steps for transformation. And it's a free download. You just put in your name and email and download it. And I just cover 5 important steps to help women. So.
Great. Well, yeah, that's a great offering for people. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For those of you listening, thank you so much. Remember who you are. You have such a power in you. You're a beautiful soul. Be a teacher. Share your lived experiences. Be a student. Keep learning by all means. And I love you. Peace out, my friends.